I welcome our today's chief guest, Dr. R. Thenmozhi, Professor and Head, Department of Civil Engineering, Government College of Technology, Coimbatore. Thank you, Madam, for accepting our
Thank you.
invitation,
Thank you,
and
Ms.
thank you for your today's presence. I also welcome all the participants for this 1 week faculty development program on thrust areas of research in civil engineering phase 2. The same topic, phase 1, we conducted during May last week, and we got overwhelming response, and the overall feedback was very good from the participants. And many participants wanted phase 2. Based on the request of the participants, we arranged this phase 2 faculty development program. Thank you, participants, for your interest in participation. Definitely, this 1 week program will fulfill your expectations on thrust areas of research in the field of civil engineering. Once again, I welcome the chief guest, Dr. R. Thenmozhi, Madam, and all the
Thank you.
participants for this FDP. Now, I invite Mr. B. Vignesh Kumar, coordinator of the FDP, to introduce the chief guest to the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So, very good morning to and all present here. It's a great pleasure to introduce today's chief guest. So, Dr. R. Thenmozhi, ma'am. So, ma'am is currently working as professor and head, Department of Civil Engineering, Government College of Technology, Coimbatore. So, she has a teaching experience of about 30 years and has guided over 11 PhD scholars. She has organized many events, including workshops, national conference, faculty development programs, international workshops, software coaching and technical expos, and has delivered more than 50 lectures in scientific meetings. She has received various awards, including the Best Faculty Award for the year of 2012 to 2013 from Nehru Group of Institutions, Coimbatore, and a academic award for research publications and for the production of doctoral candidates from Government College of Technology, Coimbatore. She has served as an editor for textbooks, including proceedings for national conferences on advanced steels, concrete and composite structures, software training program for ANSYS, software training program for STADPRO, and the proceeding of the national conference on material and technologies for sustainable development. So here works have been published in various national and international journals and conferences. So Dr. Thenmozhi ma'am is a life member of in various technical society, including Indian Society of Technical Education, Institute of Engineers in Indian Concrete Institute, and Ferro Cement Society, and a fellow in International Science Congress. So dear, it's great honor to welcome you, ma'am. So we are eager to hear from you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Vignesh Kumar, for a very nice and elaborative way of introducing me. Thanks a lot for taking time on this one.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so first of all, dear friends and dear head of the department, my old student and my dear friend Dr. Muthupriya, and other faculty members and the participants of the program. A very good morning to one and all present here. And first of all, I would like to thank the management and the organizing committee of this program for having given me a very nice chance to stand before you virtually, of course, to say a few words about the innovative things. Right? Because I have chosen the topic on the innovative construction materials and systems. Because why I have chosen this kind of topic is nothing but because whatever be the thing we are doing research, that is based on our need only. So what is going on today, in which area we need to concentrate more, so that and all I would like to say here. And based on that, I have taken some slides on what are the innovative construction materials we have and what is the more research we need in that area. And also similarly in the some kind of systems, from 5 to 6 systems, right? And then I have proposed one research topic, what I have guided here in my college for one of my PhD candidates that I have chosen, and I will explain about that also. So this will be my way of presentation. Now I would like to share my presentation. Would you be able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible, ma'am.
Okay. My voice is clear. Is it
Yes,
audible?
it's audible. It's audible, ma'am.
Okay.
Please proceed,
Okay,
ma'am.
ma'am. Thank you. So if you have any difficulty, then please kindly let me know. Okay.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
So my topic of discussion today is innovative concrete materials and system. So I have, as I have mentioned right now, so this is my way of presentation. So a little bit on introduction and what are the super performing materials we have today and what are the advancements we have now in construction systems, right? And I am choosing a topic on concrete encased composite columns. So how we have conducted the experiments and what are the theoretical analysis we did in our college and how we have calibrated the results using finite element software and abacus. Finally, a conclusion. So, as we all know, so the civil engineering infrastructure is a very expensive one, right? So, all those infrastructures are nothing but our national assets, which everyone knows here, right? Because without the civil engineering, nothing can exist. All of you, I hope you can agree with me, right? So, if you take up any massive structure, kind of a high-rise building or tall building, super skyscrapers, or long span bridges like cable stayed bridge, and large scale space structures. I make my video off so that it will be clear. So for these kinds of structures, we are having it today, and it is need of the hour also, because so unless otherwise, see, you know, the population of Tamil Nadu and India some 50 years back and today, right? Every year we are having a mushroom growth, right? We are having an exponential way of increment in the population, right? So that each and every, for each and every increase in population, we have to satisfy the norms for that individual, right? So he need a good or decent house for living. And for that man or woman, we have to provide the roads for transport, and he needs all kinds of commercial things, and he needs all kinds of infrastructure like road, railway, airport, and other things, right? And he needs the religious temple, like that. They all the etc things we need to provide in addition to the lifeline basic services like water and electricity, etc. Right? So these things are nothing but the important things, are important infrastructure needs as far as the people are concerned, right? So you can just compare the life of a mobile and a building, right? So the mobile is available right from 1,000 or 2,000 onwards till lakhs, and even it goes beyond a lakh also, right? But you cannot construct a building for a lakh, right? Even one room or one component of that building itself is not at all possible, right? So we have to keenly depend on the construction activity, and also we have to bother about the type of material we are choosing and the type of technology or system we are adopting, right? Because it is going to long last, right? Of course, a minimum life period for a building is we are keeping it as either 25 years or 50 years, or for heritage structures, it is something more than that, right? So if you are going to construct a structure for more than 50 years, then it should perform its life in a decent manner. It should not exhibit crack, right? And it should not exhibit any kinds of deterioration like corrosion or other sort of thing, right? So all those structures, what and all we are constructing, should perform well, right? And as of now, we are having the more population. So of course, the land availability is the very same, right? So the lateral expansion is not at all possible, right? Then in a way, we have to go for the high-rise buildings, right? So for the construction of that kind of high-rise buildings, your very old M15 grade or M20 grade Will it be okay? Is that sufficient to construct your 60-storied building or 100-storied building using your M15 grade of concrete or M20 grade of conventional RCC? Is that possible? No, not at all possible, right? So we are dependent on the research in the area of conventional concreting materials, right? So we need in depth, right? So we have to find, we are in a position to find out the newer materials. So in that sense, we have to introduce and implement a kind of super performing materials and techniques to save the energy or to make the cost efficiency or in the application side or in the availability side and to increase the lifespan. Right? So this is why we have to go for a newer material. Right? So how we can define the smart material is nothing but in any way it should upgrade the quality of the building. Right? So the smart structures and the material technologies are nothing but a tool for sharing the knowledge of how the various building materials which can significantly increase the production and the profit using the advanced communication, collaboration, and management technology. So coming over to the material slides, that is I call this as super performing materials, right? So a super performing material is nothing but it is a material which can perform in these ways. It can save the overall building energy because which is the talk of the art now, right? So that's why I have put in the green color, right? So we need always everything in a go green manner, right? And also the second thing is you want the thing to be pleasant enough, right? So you want to make the building aesthetically pleasing. And always the engineer's vision is nothing but one main thing is nothing but in the economy point of view, right? So we want everything in economical mode. We don't want to dump our money in the as a dead load in the building, right? So we want to cut cost in all the things, right? So and it should be a easily available one. Material should be easily available, and you should not disturb the nature a lot, right? And at the same time, the building should survive for a long time, right? So its life should be more. And similarly, you should upgrade the building quality, and you can make the building safe for living. Right? So these are the things a building material should satisfy. So in that sense, I have charted out these kinds of materials because of course all these things you know already, right? So nowadays in India, as far as Indian scenario is concerned, these materials are in practice, right? But as far as the foreign countries are concerned, we are on, they have gone a lot really, right? So these kinds of materials have come into practice for the past 2 decades itself, right? So we are having a durable concrete, right? Because we want to expose in certain situation in a aggressive environments also. So in that place also it should perform well. And similarly the high performance concrete. So high performance concrete means you are not at all going the story height, number of stories with only 2-story or 3-story or 4-story, right? So in Mumbai and Delhi or Calcutta is concerned, we are not at all having any space, right? So for meeting the population demand, we are in a condition to go for skyscrapers or tall buildings, right? So if you want to construct a 40-storied building or a 60-storied building, your M15 grade or M20 grade will never do, right? So because we want to have a slender construction also. So in that size, right? So if you want to make the grade of concrete higher, then of course the strength will be higher. So your choice of section will be lesser. So always the load goes to the foundation will also be lesser. In that case, you can choose the high performance concrete, right? So not alone the way you want to make a slender section, but the performance wise also, right? And similarly, SCC, you know well about SCC because we are having heavy loads in the structures, right? So if you are having congestion in the reinforcements, we want to make it workable concrete, right? Because otherwise you may find the voids. So that we do not like because later period it may lead to some cracks and deterioration. So in that sense, we have developed a self-compacting concrete. And also, you know about the self-healing concrete. So if a crack opens, it has to automatically close, because nowadays the maintenance cost is much, much higher, right? And also we don't want to have a lesser lifespan for a particular building, right? So to just avoid this thing, if a material is found and if you are mixing that with the concrete, it should heal once the crack opens, right? So that's what we call as a self-healing concrete. And we are having an abundance in fly ash, right? Certain years back still, right? But nowadays it is sold for a heavy price also, because fly ash has found a lot of industrial applications as far as the mainly the construction industry is concerned, right? Because we are just fabricating the fly ash brick, and we are making it for we are using it in the concrete also, right? And like this high volume fly ash concrete. High volume fly ash concrete means more than 50% or 60% replacements for binder, right? So of course you may ask, because fly ash may have only the settling time will be much higher. So in that case, we have to use the workability agents and the super plasticizers to reduce the time, to increase the early strength, right? So in that sense, for mass concreting, like construction of dams or for concreting the roads, people have started using this high volume fly ash, right? So that the main thing is we are reducing the global emission, right? Because 1 kg of cement produces 1 ton of concrete. 1 kg of cement production leads to 1 kg of carbon dioxide emission also. That we want to literally reduce, right? To avoid the pollution. And another thing is the use of mineral admixtures, right? So I hope you all know about it, right? There are a lot of mineral admixtures available today. So in which code has recommended for the things, right? So all these things have come into existence nowadays. And I hope you know about this one, why we want to go green in the concrete. Right? So as I have mentioned just right now, right? So 1 kg of cement production leads to a part of the same amount of carbon dioxide emission, right? Then how you just think of how much concrete is manufactured every day, because for each and everything next to water, the most consumption of material, one of the most consuming material by public is nothing but the concrete, right? So if you want to make the concrete, then automatically your production of cement also should be higher, right? So if you are producing cement more, then automatically carbon dioxide emission will also be higher, right? So you want to make it, you want to make a low carbon energy building, right? So what this graph pictures like this, right? So from 1990, it is now we are at 2020, right? So it goes till the prediction goes up to 2050, right? So this much amount of tons of cement need to be produced, right? So we are like here now, right? So if the situation goes like this, then it may reach a situation like this. This blue colored line graph shows the things related with the developing countries. The orange one, the middle one, is represents the status of India. The other one, the red one, depends on the Chinese production, right? And the bottommost one is the other industrial nations, right? So this is how the production of cement goes on. Okay. So if it goes on like this, then we cannot stop the way in which by which the world is polluted, right? But we have to reduce that one. So in that sense, people have started research some 2 or 3 decades back itself. By the way, people have come into the development of our determination of so many different types of concrete, which have paved way, and these are the things, right? So based on those researches, people have found a durable concrete, high performance concrete, self-healing concrete, high volume fly ash concrete, and also whatnot. You know about the geopolymer concrete also, right? So like that, there are so many different kinds of concrete, engineered cementitious composites, okay? And hybrid fiber reinforced concrete, rubberized concrete. Like that, there are so many, more than 100 types of cement concretes are available today, just now the common things alone I have mentioned. So instead of using only the normal RCC or normal pre-stressed concrete, people have started using these kinds of concrete into the various projects to save their money and to reduce the pollution. So this is what I want to mention here in this slide. So you know about the cement and concrete industry because cement manufacturing releases 800 kg of carbon dioxide per ton of cement. Right? Around 60% results are from the chemical reaction of limestone, which everyone knows here, right? And balance nearly 40% is from burning of fuels, and less than 5% is from the electrical energy. So we want to replace this clinker, right? So because the clinker manufacturing only accounts for 90% of fuel and energy consumption, right? Which leads to heavy emissions also, right? And this can be partly substituted by latent hydraulic or pozzolanic materials like the blast furnace slag from steel industry and the fly ash from coal-fired power plants and the natural and artificial pozzolans, right? So this is what I have mentioned. There are so many pozzolans binders from waste materials people have started using, which you people also may know about it because you were guiding. All the participants are all, I hope they are all faculty members. So you may be guiding various projects for the 8th semester students or for PG students using the supplementary cementitious materials. Okay. So there are wide range of composite cements covered by the European nation standards actually. So from these things, what I would like to conclude is there are three main pathways successfully applied in the cement industry, because we have to, which are enabled through R&D and innovations in engineering technology and material science, because we should know about the physics and the chemistry of the supplementary cementitious materials. Right? Based on that, so many materials have been evolved. Right? And the optimization of concrete recipes and the manufacturing technology further reduces the embodied energy. And European companies clearly at the forefront of this development. So these are the three things I would like to conclude. So based on that, we have got these kinds of different types of concrete: fly ash concrete, high volume fly ash concrete, geopolymer concrete, bagasse ash concrete, rubberized concrete. Like that, there are so many sustainable concretes using the wastage materials from different industries. We are making it as a supplementary for the binders. Partly we are replacing for a binder, right? So that the cement consumption may be lesser. Once cement consumption is lesser, we can save the cement, we can reduce the cement production also. Yes. So as a second material, right? So these in these slides I have mentioned about the concrete, which are based on the different kinds of materials, right? So fly ash is the industrial waste, and which is fly ash concrete, high volume fly ash concrete, and geopolymer concrete. All these things can be based on the industrial waste fly ash. And bagasse ash is nothing but the sugarcane waste, right? So you will just crush it and you have to burn it, and that ashes can be used for the production of for the replacement of cement, right? There are many researches going on using this bagasse ash. And similarly, rubberized concrete. So always you can find a lot of materials are available as far as the rubbers are concerned, right? Literally, see you in a town, right? How many vehicles are passing? Can you please think of? So if you just go and see the town hall area in a bird's eye view manner, right? So there are so many four-wheelers and so many two-wheelers are daily traveling. Okay. Of course, you just avoid this lockdown period, right? So in the festive season or in the other seasons also, we are seeing so many vehicles. So you just think of the life of that wheels of the vehicle. Can it go for 50 years or 60 years or till your life ends? No, not at all. Right? So it has a limited lifespan. So there are billions and billions of wheels have thrown into land as a disposal. So it pollutes the ground. So disposal become a big issue. So people thought of what we can do with the waste rubber waste wheels of the vehicle. Right? So it is made up of a tough rubber, right? So the people start, because the construction industry is the very main industry and very biggest industry also. So it is crushed into or cut into a coarse aggregate and made finer into a fine aggregate, and people started using for in the concrete making recipe. Right? So which paved way for the birth of this rubberized concrete. Right? So of course, the compressive strength will be much lesser, but for certain areas, say like for the portico areas or for the compound walls, in those areas you can use it, right? So this rubbers can be used as a replacement for fine aggregate, can be replacement for a coarse aggregate, and rubberized fibers. Small things are cut into fibers, and that could be used so that you can increase the ductility, right? And the impact resistance will be more for such kind of concrete. So like that, we are having so many, right? And like this, there are lot of sustainable concretes have been used. So these are the things related with the concrete. And what are the other materials you have in the world, right? So coming over to the next one, the transparent aluminum. So many of you might be heard about this also. So it is nothing but one ceramic alloy. It is a form of aluminum only. It is a transparent, as the name indicates. It is a see-through one. Right? So almost it is two times harder than sapphire, and also it has the property of no corrosion, and it can resist more radiation and oxidation also. And this kind of aluminum can be best utilized in the creation of stronger windows for homes and the domes for space elements and for undersea vehicles. Right? Because you are seeing there are so many space construction elements are available. Right? So for those things you could utilize this one. Right? So this is a heavy, strong enough to act as the member there. And coming over to the next one is the Sensi type. This is also an attractive one. See, if you walk across your kitchen floor at night times, right, to get something from the refrigerator or in a darker area, it could glow, right? So it can show the lighted path, right? So that guides your way through the darker. So the concrete of these tiles are embedded with a kind of fiber, like acrylic fiber, which has optic channels, so which can transmit light from one point to another when you just walk over. So as the shadow moves across those terrazzo surface, the light channels will flicker and there will be light. And this slide tells you about the solar panel roofing tiles. I hope many of you know about this. So because this one transforms the sun's energy into usable electricity. Of course, we used to have it as a separate solar panel system to absorb the electricity from this sun and to save it as electrical energy. And either you can utilize that for your pumping to your water heater or something somewhere else you will utilize. That is of a different thing. But now the tiles itself have been manufactured using this kind of system, as what you are seeing in the solar light, the street lamps you are seeing in the streets in the same way. And another thing is CLT, simply called as CLT, which is nothing but cross-laminated tin. Right? So, of course, 10 to 11 wooden layers will be there. Nothing but CLT is nothing but it can consist of so many wooden layers which are glued together to form a solid panel. Right? So its thickness normally varies from 50 to 300. That is, say 60 to 320 mm, something like that. Right? And it has been normally used mainly for the low-rise residential building and the commercial complexes, and for mixed applications also people are using for, say, for the temple-like structures and for other buildings also. But now you wonder, this has been started finds its applications for the construction of tall buildings in skyscrapers also in foreign countries, because it is a sustainable one and a resilient form of engineered wood. Right? Suppose if you take up the Japan or other countries, which the country is subjected to quite often so many kinds of earthquakes, right? So in those structures, the construction of wooden construction, you may find it more, right? So in those areas, this may find more application. And this does not require burning of any fossil fuels during its construction. So this picture shows you one of the eye-catchy example, because see, this is made using the solids on lumber together, and the layers lay perpendicular to each other, making it more tensile, and it gives you more compressive strength also. The first of its kind, it is originated in Europe, and this CLT plays to be an excellent welding material due to faster production and good quality, and the ease with which we are doing in design, etc. And of course, the initial cost will be higher, but the complete cost, right? So that the final cost will be lesser, so that you could save something. So it is actually, if you look upon it, natural looking aesthetics and strength, the designers and builders are now coming up with the usage of the CLD, or even for tall buildings also. Of course, the architects have started to use this one a lot. And see, this is one of the example of that CLT. See, this is nothing but a 34-meter long and a 3-meter wide upside down, a double cantilever structure. See, the wonderness is it is a double cantilever structure. This is in a college at local London, Public Art and Pavilion at Chelsea College.
Ma'am?
Yes, yeah.
I'm sorry for disturbing you, ma'am. Ma'am, in
Yeah.
your slide, ma'am, you're showing a small dialog box. So please press the hide button, ma'am. So it's lower corner, ma'am. Some topics not showing, ma'am. So please press your hide button, ma'am. Your slide.
Okay. This one.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh, okay.
It's
Okay,
okay.
ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Please proceed, ma'am.
Okay, so this is one of the example about this pavilion building, and it is a double cantilever building made completely of this CLT. And this is again another view of the same structure. So the first one is the which is the inner view of that cantilevered structure, and this is the entire building, entire structural element, which is shown in a photos taken in another angle. And of course, many of you know about this rammed earth, because in villages, many of the constructions are going on. And nowadays, it finds in some of the foreign countries, they are having this kind of construction, where the rammed earth is available a lot. And normally, they use it to compress it in wooden boxes, and it will be compressed as a layers in earth, sand, and clay, and fire. They are all mixed with the 5% cement or lime as a binder. So they use it to make a wall in it. Of course, one of the main advantage here is that we may not need the paint. So this is the picture of rammed earth. And the next one is, this is a wonderful element, material actually, this aluminum foam. Some of you may be heard about this. And this is the parent material of this aluminum foam is nothing but aluminum, which you people are using it in the kitchen, right? And this is also populated with a large volume of pores or cavities, as I have rightly mentioned here. No? So in the bottommost corner, right corner, you are seeing a picture, right? Some may be having smaller voids, some may be having a bigger void, middle kind of void, and some may be having more voids, right? So how this is made, no? So the solid material which is filled with the pores, up to 90% of the voids will be there, right? Of the volume, 95% of the volume will be nothing but the voids. So it can consist of gas-filled voids in two different kinds of structure, right? Two different kinds means, namely here, either the first one may be stochastic or reticulated, and another one is the regular stacked cell, right? So depending on the density and how the structure appeared and the shapes of the cavities, all those things, right? So based on those things, this can be divided into two different types. One is the stochastic form, and another one is the regular. Right? So otherwise, what we can do is this gap can be sealed, right? So in that way, if we divide the if you do the classification, then you can call it as a closed cell foam, and another one is the open cell. Right? So, and the injection of the gas, whether by physical means or chemical means, you can do, but it is broadly responsible for creating the pores or cavities within this aluminum. So it is really a wonderful and excellent material which can deform in a very lesser way alone. Right? So these are the different kinds of properties of this aluminum foam. This is extremely durable and very lightweight. What you are able to see here now, because there are so many voids around. So these voids are filled up by means of the gas cell. Right? So this is having a very large surface area to volume ratio. So the non-flammable material inherits all of the excellent properties, namely, see, these are the different kinds of properties it has. So of course, you know that aluminum, which we are using it in the kitchen, has the secondary value is also large, right? Because it can be recycled, right? So this aluminum foam can also be recyclable. And this has good amount of heat and corrosion resistance, and it has a very huge strength also, because you are having a air gap void, right? So those voids are filled by gases, right? So together as a foam element, thickened element, it gives you much strength. And very fortunately, the electrical and the thermal conductivity of the foam is good, and the weight is very, very lesser, because you know the weight of aluminum, and that too with that kind of foam, it is very, very lesser. It's only a fraction. And it has a high specific stiffness. That's why it could withstand a greater damage also with very little deformation. So from the designer's or manufacturer's point of view, this aluminum foam can be made into a complex form also, and you can make any kind of geometry, right? Easily, and offers good amount of good properties, so that this is also a very favorable one for the construction industry. So many industries are utilizing this aluminum foam, like automotive industry, aerospace, and the construction industry, of which the automotive industry is, it has a good amount of impact and acoustic and vibration absorber. So this material can be used for automotive industry also, right? And in aerospace industry, people are using this for making the components of turbines or for the spatial cones, something like that. And as far as our industry is concerned, as this material is fireproof and heat-proof, the structural and the protective barrier against explosions or heavy sound, as well as in the naval industry, this can be beautifully utilized. Right? So this plays a vital role in the shades and the shadows also, so which brings an identity to the structure. So there are a number of automotive and aircraft manufacturers are consistently utilizing this aluminum foam, because mainly this has a good high strength to ratio. Strength to weight ratio is very, very large, right? Because weight is very, very lesser. So it has a very good amount of high strength, right? So automatically the weight goes to the foundation will be very, very lesser. So utilizing this aluminum foam, that you can make it in a column also. People have started, this is one of the research area, right? See, you are having a tubular whole formed steel or a mild steel element, right? So in which you can pour this aluminum foam, and you could find the value of the column element, right? How much load it gets, right? So you could compare, and you can make a relation also, right? So in sooner this will find its application in the as a main structural element also, because you could make it as a beam element, or you can make it as a column element by what the way I have just mentioned, make it as a composite form, not only as this aluminum foam, right? But in a composite format, you could use this one, and you can make within the CFT tube, and you can find up, you can test it for compression as a compression element. Okay. So like that, you can, the construction industry, you can get use of this one. Yes, of course, many of you know about this recycled aggregates, right? Because there are a lot of, as many times I have mentioned, right? Population is very, very large. So the building activities are much more. So the construction activities are very large. So always we are having a kind of waste available from the site, and also sometimes we have to more than 50 years building and all we cannot use further. So we are in a condition to demolish it, right? So if such kind of demolition works are going on, then that waste from the site, so if it is a G+5 storied building or a very huge building, right? Then where you are going to load it? So we have to dispose the thing, right? So you will have a masonry material and you will have a concrete material and you will have a wooden portion, you will have a steel portion, this, that, right? So etc. etc. So in which the concrete part is much more, right? And it can be reused also. So in that sense, people thought of how to dispose this one and find its application as the recycled aggregate, right? So the demolished concretes can be crushed finer and you can make it to a size of the coarse aggregate. That can be reused into the concrete as a coarse aggregate, a form of coarse. So you can just replace for a percentage, right? Not 100% replacement you cannot do because we are not getting the research findings like that. So up to 30 or 40% in some things, 50% replacements have been done, right? So yeah, people are using so many super plasticizers also to make it workable. But you have to choose the correct application for that. Suppose if you are require M60 grade or M50 grade concrete, then in that place, this recycled aggregate, usage of recycled aggregate is not at all advisable one. Right? But there are some places, right? So you want to make the floor concrete, right? And you want to have these obstructors work, and you are having a dam constructions, you are having a road construction work, right? So in those things and compound wall construction, right? So for those places, recycled aggregate can find its application. But people are doing research for in columns, composite columns, and in the beam element everywhere. For many things, people have started doing research in that. So there are extensive research has now established that this debris can be crushed and processed and recycled as coarse aggregate for fresh concrete. So such recycling solves the above mentioned disposal problem. So it will make the economical. So and there are many international codes have come into existence because in Malaysia people have started this kind of R&D, C&D waste in this construction and demolition waste in 3D printing itself. And the another type of aggregate is the lightweight aggregate. I hope you also heard of this one, right? Because nowadays, if you are just deploying all the natural resources, right, then in short duration, everything will be gone. Right? So we will not be in a condition to get all these things. Right? So in such case, at time, we have to go for man-made aggregates, right? So man-made aggregates in the sense there are a lot of waste materials or industrial waste are available. So from the industrial waste, you could manufacture your aggregate that could be in a lightweight also. So if you are making an aggregate for which gives you a lightweight, then automatically the load goes to the foundation will also be a lesser one, right? So you are saving the material, right? So you are making the structure itself an economic. So such kind of lightweight aggregates are nothing but this. Using fly ash, we can do a sintered fly ash aggregate, and using clay, expanded clay, right? And like that, there are so many other industrial waste also there. So you could get so many lightweight aggregates which are used in the practice. Yes. So what we have seen is certain materials. Just I want to throw a light on it. So see, this kind of workshops will not give you a entire knowledge about the system. So through these kinds of programs, you can get to know about the title or some information about it. But it should be your interest, right? To get more knowledge about the thing. So that after that you can Google it out, you can find the things from the system, which system you want to know more, right? Okay. So coming over to the innovative construction systems, right? So there are a lot of things available. Just I want to mention about these 7 different systems, right? I hope you know about the self-healing concrete and you heard of 3D printing, diagrid structures, outriggers in super tall buildings, and photovoltaic glazings, modular construction, cloud collaboration. How many of you know about these words? Of course, many of you know about self-healing and 3D printing. Am I right? Please. Yeah. Any answers? Have you heard of these words? If you are replaying something, then I could understand something. Definitely, this some of you have asked that can we use lightweight aggregate with reinforcement? Yes, that's what that is one of my paper. Here, what I'm going to show you the research one is nothing but this interfly ash aggregate is used in the composite column. Yes. So many of you might be heard of the self-healing concrete, and some might be heard of 3D printing, and very few may be heard of diagrid. And of course, the modular construction also, you know, right? Now, a little light I will throw you on all these three things. Okay. So, as of now, everyone knows that, as I have rightly mentioned while I started my session, right? Here, lots and lots of concrete works is going on, which no one can deny, right? Because the concrete, we are using it for roads construction, building, tall buildings, tunnels, bridges, right? So for everything we are using, right? And while you are using these concretes in construction, which cannot as such survive for years together, for centuries together, right? So because a maximum of 25 years it will show its good life. After that, it may start to reciprocate, right? A little cracks will be there, right? Because quite often you have to maintain that building correctly, otherwise it will also be gone within 10 years period itself. So of course, once in 3 years, 3 to 5 years, you have to paint it well, and you have to, if you are locating some kind of issues, that should be seen immediately. Maintenance measure should be undertaken immediately. Otherwise, it will be a big issue, right? So as if you have invested lakhs and crores of amount in a building, in the construction of building, you cannot waste that money, right? So again, you cannot put it for maintenance, for repair and rehabilitation, right? Because the repair and rehabilitation cost is much higher also, right? So whenever a crack opens, that should be restored immediately. So for which this self-healing concrete does a wonderful job, right? So this will add value to the years, to the lifespan, right? So that you are financially you can save them. The science behind this technological marvel is nothing but when water enters a crack, right? So this reactivates the bacteria, which is mixed with the concrete during mixing period itself, right? So when the bacteria is activated, it excretes the calcite, which then heals the crack, right? So this is how the mechanism is there. So the concrete is engineered with the water activated bacteria, which heal the crack by producing calcite. So the self-healing concrete is saving the contractors and the engineers a lot of time and the labor. By using this type of concrete, you reduce the infrastructure maintenance and you reduce the production of greenhouse gases, okay, which everyone knows. Simply say, the structures can last for 200 years. I mean, 2 centuries it can go. So they are activated whenever the cracks appear, prolonging the lifespan and infrastructure. This is the way of self-healing concrete works. Right? So these kinds of cracks we do not want to see, right? So once it opens, it just triggers. If this kind of width, up to this kind of width, we need not permit, right? So if it just started to show a micro crack itself, this bacteria will just open up and it will excrete the calcite, so it will automatically close, right? So that will be the job of the self-healing concrete if you are using it, right? Yes, coming over to the 3D printing. So this 3D printing also printers, 3D printers everyone know, right? Many of it, because today, which is the talk of the day, this is used in construction to create the components or structural elements to print directly in the site, right? So as if how the printing technology is used in mechanical production or other machinery production everywhere, right? Oh, suppose you just take a vessel in your house, kitchen vessel, right? Simply plate or spoon, how they are manufacturing, right? The similar way your house is going to build. Similar way you are going to manufacture your house. In the same way you are going to print your build, right? So that's called 3D printing. The thing is nothing but your see, that machine is entirely housed in within the industry itself, but this machine is will be having a lever arm, a large arm, and other kinds of machines, many robots, right? So the machinery itself is a huge thing. Okay. And see, today we are having everything, all the design process intact, right? So everything is given in a soft form. And the industry is also experienced in computer-aided manufacturing already for the past 2 decades, right? And there are so many advancements in this, okay, building information modeling system, which further facilitate the greater use. And so the construction of 3D printing may allow a faster and more accurate construction. 1 minute. Oh, sorry. So the construction of 3D printing may allow faster and more accurate construction of complex. Right? So this can lower the labor cost and the production. You can minimal the wastage also. See at the site, the real site, how much wastage is there. Site constructed activities, if you are seeing at the end of the day, so many concrete, so many mason the bricks are getting wasted. Right? So you can reduce the thing, and mainly the labor cost. Labor cost is much more, right? And making them unique is also another one, and make a qualitative product using the available labor is another big issue, right? So all those things can be getting reduced. And it might also enable construction be undertaken in the harsh environment, that is, I mean, a dangerous environment also, which human manpower cannot enter into the field. So here another thing you should know about is 3D graphing. These 3D graphings can replace the steel itself. The steel is not only heavy but also an expensive one to buy. But this 3D graphing is only 5% of weight. That is, weight to strength ratio is much higher for this 3D graphing when you compare with the steel. Right? See, of course, 200 times it gives you more value. So using the graphene enhanced concrete additive changes the strength and weight aspects of the concrete. So with this added strength, the contractors can build skyscrapers more than even 90,000 feet high. So again, the material can be used in the manufacture of lighter and more fuel efficient vehicles. So nowadays, this 3D graphene is used in the 3D printing concrete. So we are having mobile 3D printers. So adding graphene to a material makes it stronger, durable, lighter, and more elastic, and also it gives resistance to cracks and mash. So this improves the antibacterial and thermal properties of the material. So adding graphene to 3D printing and designing of mobile 3D printers for this purpose can simplify the entire process of the building structures in remote locations where there is a heavy risk due to natural disasters and other high climate areas. So these are the benefits we get out of it. See, aside from environmental benefits of printing 3D content, there are other advantages we get from creating this material. Because mainly it saves time and labor. You see, if you want to do a particular job in 2 weeks time, that can be finished up within 3 to 4 days itself. So you just see how much time you are saving. Okay. So on top of that, the risk for injury on site dramatically drops off. Excuse me, someone with innovative concrete materials. Vignesh Kumar, what is your doubt? Can you please talk?
Someone asking what is the main topic for today's session, ma'am. So I only posted.
Which one? Who is that participant? What is your question here? I couldn't.
So it's Muhammad sir. I think Muhammad sir asking the question, ma'am. So what is the main topic?
Yeah, it is. The topic is innovative concrete materials and systems. Yes, what is the doubt you have with Muhammad Ashfaq Khan? So if you have any queries, you can post. And my topic here is innovative concrete materials and systems, because these are the new areas of research which is not yet completed but have come into existence in practice in other countries. Okay, that's what I am talking. Because there are so many research avenues are there. There are so many, because we have not yet have the codal provision for this 3D concrete printing. Okay. So we are, and also only the concrete alone we are having. There are lot of materials can be used for that. So whenever you are using another material for which we need supportive information through R&D. So once the R&D is completed, then only we can have the portal provision, and then we can use it in a proper manner. Okay. So on top of that, the risk for injury also dramatically drops down, right? See, just thinking of a site-based construction which is going on in 20-story or 30-story building, right? So definitely you should ensure all the safety provisions, right? Some issues we are hearing now and then, right? So those kinds of things automatically nullified here. Okay. Moreover, it's economical with fewer building materials required and less money spent on it. And this brings us right back to the environmentally friendly aspect of 3D concrete printing, because the impact is less. So aside from all these already fantastic reasons, and architects are the main exposures here, because they never do a pakka square building or a rectangular shape. They want to do something different, right? So it is main eye catchy is to the architects here, right? So this is like a desert to them. So they can make any funny shape. Okay. So what I have shown you here, no, different kinds of shapes here, right? So these are all more or less shapes which we could make from the 3D print. But these things are not at all possible by man-made. Okay. And this is the world's first 3D printed bridge in Spain. Some of you may heard of. Okay, a very nice bridge, directly printed, and it is erected at site. And this is how people will do, right? So the material science is the huge area. So many physics and chemistry should be learned, right? So automatically the lever arm will just pour the concrete, and the house will be readily built. Right. So that is the talk about the discussion about the 3D printed concrete system. Right? So coming over to the next, right, diagrid structure. So many of you may know about this also, right? So recently we are going, as I have mentioned, right, there are many tall buildings, right? So if you go for taller buildings, definitely the stiffness is the main criteria which we have to bother, right? Lateral stiffness and also the vertical global compatibility is the main factor, right? So to avoid that one and to make an economical taller buildings, people have started to use this kind of trend today as a diagrid structure. So this one is the recently adopted one. Recently means it has come in the last decade itself to foreign countries, but now recently we have in India also, there are certain buildings come into existence using these concepts in Chennai, in Mumbai and all else. So recently the use of this perimeter diagonals, the other way I could call the perimeter diagonals, in the sense simply in the layman words, right? you are not going to provide the vertical columns in the periphery, but instead that will be connected in a diagonal. So if you are connecting it in the diagonal way, we call such system as a grid only, no? So it is a diagrid. That's how the name comes. Right? So this structure is made up of diamond modules with the diagonal members and provides more lateral stiffness also. See, can you please kindly think of how instead of this vertical column, how the inclined column can give more thickness, more stiffness? Can any of you comment on this one? Simply, you just take that the one vertical column, right? So that vertical column is going to take either, suppose if it is an interior column, that will take only an axial load because the moment MUX and MUY will get cancelled, right? You will not get it. But only if you are taking the axial load, okay, yeah, right? So you have some axial load equal to WA or WX, whatever it may be. So that inclined member can, so each and every inclined member will have both the components if you resolve it. Am I right or not? It will have one horizontal component, one vertical component. Okay. So it has more load, right? So more horizontal, lateral stiffness. So one inclined member can take the lateral force and also the vertical force. Okay. Is it clear? That's why you are having, instead of providing one vertical axial column, right, axially loaded column, if you are changing that to a inclined member, it could take the more wind energy and as well as the gravity load also by the same section, right? So if you take up either you model it in either a ETAB or in a StatPro, a 10-storied building you take and you just compare how you are arriving the sections. Same structure, you model it through one of your students, right? Say for the next semester, 8th semester students, you can give us a project, either G+5 or G+10-storied building you give them, right? So one is based on the RCC with regular conventional type of construction. And another same thing you ask him to design by means of the diagrid. So how much material you are going to save there, you can judge. Definitely there will be an economical benefit of it. And also this gives a pleasing appearance. So do you agree or not? Definitely, no? So instead of seeing the regular rectangular columns, this gives a good look, right? So the high-rise buildings using diagrid structures is of trend today. So the various lateral load resisting systems, there are so many kinds of lateral load resisting systems, right? Like high-rise buildings, they are rigid frame, shear wall frame, raised tube system, and outrigger systems, and tubeless. Okay, so these are the various systems available, and in which these kinds of recently this kind of a diagram structural system is adopted in tall buildings due to the structural efficiency and flexibility in architectural plan. But the thing is, we could make that angle as optimum one, 45 degree or 60 degree, or it is because it is based on the width to height ratio of the building, height, the entire height to the entire width of the building, right? So based on that, you arrive the optimum angle by choosing the every diagonal, right? You make it 45 degree, you make it 60 degree, you make it 75 degree, right? So in which you can make it more than that also, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Like that you change and you can get an optimum angle. This is one of the project to your final year student. Okay. So using your either using a finite element approach using ETABS, that will be good, or even you can use through StatPro itself, right? Yes. So this is an example of Grand Court at London is designed using this kind of diagrids, Queen Elizabeth building. Okay. And these are the other systems. There are so many places these kinds of buildings are available today in Abu Dhabi, London, China, right? Everywhere. Right. Now, coming over to the next system, say outriggers. How many of you know about this outriggers? Anybody? See, outrigger means it is nothing but this element. See, in the middle thing, you are seeing one kind of truss, right? Suppose if you want to make a construct a 60-storied building or a 80-storied building or a 100-story building, if you are providing a beam-like elements continuously, definitely the load goes to that bottommost beam will be much heavier, right? So to avoid that, to disperse it in a random manner, what people are doing now, so in between, within every 20 story or every 15th story, one big beam, nothing but a big beam. Outrigger is nothing but a great stiffer beam, right? So that will be provided. So that may be up to 1 meter or even 1.5 meter height. The height of the beam, this outrigger beam is nothing but 1 meter or 1.5 meter. So that the load above from all these beams will be taken care of by this heavy truss, right? So for the remaining beams, right? So that you are able to reduce the size of the beam, regular beam. See, in 100 story, all those beams, you will have regular beams, 100 beams. Suppose if you are considering only one single frame, I am considering in a 2D frame, right? So 100 beams weight may be much simplified, right? By adopting each and every 15th story or 20th story by placing one outrigger, like, right? So this outrigger is a stiff beam that connects the shear walls to the exterior. And mind it, and this will be provided only at the outer side, outer periphery alone. So when the structure is subjected to lateral forces, the outrigger and the columns resist the rotation of the core and thus significantly reduce the lateral deflection and base moment, which would have arisen in a free core. So the another picture, this one is the another picture. See here, see, these are the outrigger system adopted in super tall buildings, right? So this is one outrigger, this is one outrigger. So the lateral load resisted by the conventional building will be much higher. So by adopting this kind of system, this can take care of these lateral loads by this particular element. So all these things can be taken care of by this particular. So like that, you could see. Right? So this is the pictorial view of 3D frame. Right? This is every 20th floor, one outrigger is placed here. Right? So this is nothing but outrigger 1, outrigger 2, something. Right? So this can take care of all the lateral and seismic loads and other kind of. So that the entire size of 100 beams, 100-story beams will be getting reduced. So this is the another picture which shows the another outrigger. This could be either a steel-based truss or a composite truss or a heavy RC member in which a composite I-beam may be placed. Something like that you could say. So this also maybe you can give to your students as a project so that you could also learn and the students could also get developed in this knowledge, right? So you can ask them to provide a beam here by using a steel truss, another by using a concrete encased composite structure. So within which you can provide a truss and surrounded by a concrete system. So a composite beam, and another one will be RC beam made up of laced and battened system as a reinforcement. So these kinds of three things can be analyzed, and you can get you can compare the cost of the building, right? So that the size and the weight of the structure, optimum weight of steel in each system, how much you are getting. So all those things are the nice choices for a project. Even this can be, this is also another eye opener for a research point of view also. There are no much researches went on in these cases. This is again another picture which shows about the outrigger trusses. Or another way you can call this as a belt. This is again the real case of this outrigger design for high-rise buildings. See, these are all smaller steel beams. This is the steel column, right? So here you are having, this one is the outrigger. It is the kind of truss element, right? So your saving will be done there, right? So that completes my discussion about the outriggers. So next material is the photovoltaic glaze. So coming over to this one, see, this is nothing. This is can anybody of you heard of this kind of word, photovoltaic glaze? See, this is nothing but building which is integrated with the photovoltaic glazing, BIPV, right? What it do is nothing but it can generate electricity on its own. You wonder? Definitely, yeah. See, because how it is done now. So some companies, they are manufacturing this kind of glasses for making window, for making facades, and for roofs, right? Like Polysolar's technology is efficient at producing energy, even on north-facing vertical walls, and its high performance at raised temperatures means it can be double glazed or insulated directly, right? But as well as saving on energy, you can save the EB bill again here, right? So how you are doing? See, this is the example of a system, right? In foreign countries, they are having this kind of system. So this BIPV will act as an enabler to adopt the solar panel energy, right? See, this is this facade, no? Nothing like a solar tile or solar roofing system. A wall panel, this kind of glaze, no? Glazing. So this is nothing but a photovoltaic glazing system. So this can absorb the sunlight here, and it can transmit it to the building, and it can convert to the DC into this energy into a DC and AC electricity, right? So, and then it can be stored in as a backup in a battery, and from there at any time the building can be illuminated, and then it can go sent to the grid also, right? So this is how a building can capture energy and it can sell the energy, electrical energy. It's super invention, is that right? So this is an ideal solution for sustainable energy footprint. See, this is the pictorial representation. So a polyvolatile array converts the sunlight into direct current. Right? So a charge controller is there, a battery is there, which converts DC into AC, everything, and it goes to the power meter. And this is again another pictorial view. See, from the sun, this kind of photovolatile panels are fixed over the building roof, or glazing, or over the wall facade, anywhere, right? So this can absorb the energy, and it can convert it into AC or DC, can send to AC or DC inverter, right? So from which it can goes to the fuse box, it can take backup from the battery storage, and import meter and export meter, and it can send to the grid. So whenever and wherever needed, again it can go back, and the building can consume the light, and it can store wherever this needs. This is the Paka system, so that our electrical energy is not wasted. So these are again another examples of such buildings. Right. So next system, coming over to the modular construction. See, this is nothing but one of the most popular developments in civil engineering. Of course, this one everyone knows, right? Nothing like prefabricated, right? So each prefabricated element is nothing. See, I hope you know about this Chennai. Chennai since are having one in near Kangen. They are having one teamage constructions, no? So they are having this prefabricated concrete construction site industry. Right? So they can make this whatever be your requirements, the size of the beam, the size of the column, size of the staircase, each flight can be constructed, and each roof paneling can be built and casted, and it can be sent to the site. Right? So your, of course, 70 to 80% of your building may be fabricated as an individual element at the site, and it can be brought to the site, to the industry. It will be manufactured, and it can be brought to the site, and within minutes, right, within days or so, they can be connected. Right? So by the connectivity, they will use the monolithic. They want to make it monolithic, no? So for which all those connections, in those connection area alone, they have to use the concrete. Okay. So like this, one such a very great example here is a 57-story skyscraper constructed in 19 working days. Wonderful, no? In the United States and UK, they have built like that. Okay. So this kind of modular construction is there. So here also in IIT, one of the building, many of you might have heard, gypsum board, right? Using gypsum board, they have done one G plus 2 story building, I think, right? So that was constructed in 1 month or so. So that video is available in their website also. So this kind of work is going on. So that is again another novelty. And also what now we can do in our research is nothing but the materials they are using, this kind of board, no? So nowadays people have started using the various industrial waste into this to make this kind of panel boards, right? So that is one novel approach here, right? So you can utilize the cement. You need not utilize the cement for as a binder entirely. Instead of using it 100%, you can replace it by either 50% or even you make it lesser, right? By using the economical industrial waste, right? So the materials which has to be disposed of can be effectively utilized for making this kind of modular construction, roof panels or wall panels or whatever, right? So that is again another good research. And also the connections. Connections are very, very important. So in those connection area, there is no much research is available. Right. So this is again another interesting thing. And nowadays, talk of the day by all the branches of engineering. Cloud computing, now we are having MTech programmings are available. ME cloud computing, even cloud computing and all. So people are thought of to introduce one branch of study. Right. So in the same way, we in the civil engineering industry, a cloud collaboration is there. Right. So in the cloud collaboration, what we are doing now, see, today itself we are sending emails. It is our design, data, construction, or drawing, or estimation, whatever. Everything is sent as a through email alone. We are sending, right? So nowadays we have started using this kind of soft form. Okay. Now the industry, almost 33% of the industry professionals see online collaboration tools as a path to higher productivity. Because this is a system which allows the remote sharing of data on a construction site in a real. So what you are doing here now, it is predominantly a review tool for civil engineers and architects, where the people are digitizing the drawing and the complete data and the construction industry data and the project documentation, everything that will be stored as a wiki. So in the wiki, every collaborator will be there, right? AEC professionals, the architect, engineer, contractor, and the client everywhere, right? So whoever is collaborating with that construction part, right? They can collaborate, they can take the data from that wiki, and whatever be the doubts they are having, they can get it cleared from there. So no need to waste to send the mail also. So there are so many icons or sub menus will be there. Whatever be the page you want to open, that could be opened in the wiki as you are opening the mail. Right? So as the time you are spending to send them. Okay. So this is what I want to share with you here. So the trials have revealed possible cost savings of around 60% because paper-based works are now reduced. Because the another way I could explain this is everything is now as a BIM modeled project, business information modeling system. So those BIM modeled projects cannot be taken print in a paper format. So that can be visualized as a 3D or so using the system alone, right? So in that concept also, this cloud collaboration will make good way. Okay. So the cloud-based tools designed specifically for this AEC professionals support your workflows, project needs, and file types. And these tools support the specific scheduling and the collaboration processes which help your teams develop deliverables efficiently and effectively. So these tools are designed to let teams use your CAD model and model-based design files in the office from their own. wherever you are. So the cloud collaboration can help you address the compatibility issues in several ways. You can view many native file types directly through cloud-based. So you are spending a less time everywhere and a reduced need for paper pens. So this is how the theme, the concept of you are having a AEC forum here, right? The architect, civil engineer, and the structural engineer. So the things will be stored here. So if you want to add any discipline or any subpages, you can add, and the data can be retrieved from anywhere, anytime. And the performance can be monitored everywhere. Right. So after that, there are a lot of systems I have mentioned. So what I have spent, some of the super performing materials which has been used in practice and which needs research also. Right. Many of the things are used by the foreign countries, and also some kind of systems I have mentioned here. Those also need a kind of research further. Right. And now, what I am going to present now is based on our own research conducted at Government College of Technology, Coimbatore. So this is nowadays the talk of the days are about the composite system. We are not happy only with the steel and only with the concrete, but if it is merged, right? So if you are producing a composite element, that leads to a economical construction act. Okay, because this composite slabs may be a profiled one. So I hope many of you know about this profiled composite decking sheets, right? So these kinds of sheets, slabs may be made up of a concrete, right? So here the concrete will be provided. Above neutral axis, the system will be in compression. So that compression element, for that compression element, you need the concrete, right? So that type of concrete could be either it is a plain cement concrete or SCC or a lightweight concrete or a geopolymer concrete or so many things, high volume fly ash or whatnot. You are having so many different kinds of waste material inclusion, right? So any one type of concrete you could use, right? So this is the decking sheet, and these are the profiles which I bound to this concrete, right? And here we are laying the concrete also. And for temperature steel, at the top, we need this minimum steel. Okay. So here the concreting is done, and then it is tested for the 2-point bending. So this behaved well. And always this formwork now, here we are, this is the tension taking element here. And these grooves, in those places, you don't find a concrete. So you are saving a kind of concrete here, right? So less material, and automatically there is less weight going to the foundation. And one more advantage here is nothing but made out of this sheet. See, you don't provide extra formwork, right? So minimum formwork will be as a support only is enough for this. So no decking sheet and no formwork is needed to carry the concrete. So this is an economical way, and the time saving is also much lesser here, and the lifespan is also much higher when you compare with the existing system. Yes. So coming over to this composite columns, right? So this is what I am going to explain in detail. So as you all know, the composite columns are really a beautiful arrangement where either you can provide a concrete encased composite column or a steel encased composite column. So each of which has its own advantages, and this is a good alternative for construction material because there are two builder friendly construction materials. We have one as steel and other as a concrete. Right? Steel acts as a nerve to a human being, right? Because without nerves, we cannot stand. Okay, and similarly, without steel, a building cannot exist, right? So this composite element, it is the benefits of concrete and the benefits of steel is taken are beautifully. It has been considered and it produced a new year element called composite system. And this system is available for slab, beam, column, everywhere. Okay. So what we have taken here is this composite column is made up of lightweight concrete, and that too is using the basalt fibers, right? So the system will be like this. So for developing this kind of lightweight concrete, what we have used, so these are the systems wherein the steel rods are being used, right? And for making concrete, this kind of sintered fly ash aggregates have been partially replaced here, right? And also we have used the lace and battened system as a shear stirrup, right? So these kinds of different models. See, this is L angle as the main steel, and here you are using a rounded steel rod. And these L angles are connected by lacings in certain systems and as battens in certain systems. For everywhere we have used the sinter fly ash aggregate concrete. So the load taken by axial loading and by the cyclic loading was studied. So these are the main objectives. That is, we have to find out the optimum mix proportion for the sintered fly ash aggregate concrete, and the mechanical and durability properties were studied, and the response of composite columns in uniaxial compression under both static and cyclic loading conditions have been studied here. And our aim was to compare the ultimate loads with respect to 5 different country codal provisions: European code, Australian code, right, and the British standards and American standards. And all these things have been also compared in answer. And this is the methodology adopted: problem identification, literature review, and we have collected the materials and the formulation of mixed design. Then the study were undertaken using composite columns, and this kind of composite columns are here tested for the experiments, right? And the real experiments have been validated through theoretical equations and also numerically using answers. So as far as the experiments are concerned, both the fresh and hardened concrete properties were tested, and the reinforcement type, all those material properties have been examined, and the built-up sections have been tested. And the loading will be of static, uniaxial, and uniaxial compression and cyclic uniaxial compression. And in theoretical analysis, these 5 different country codal provisions have been compared, and all these things are validated through answers. So this particular slide will be useful to you on why you do a research or involved in research, because all those may be youngsters again, right? See, you may wonder always what you do normally is, because in many of the DC meetings, what people will do is this much percentage added, so that much percentage increased or decreased, or it is failure, something like that they do, right? But what exactly, see, while you do the research, you concentrate on the physics and chemistry of the material you are using, right? See, because in the BE first year, why we are studying physics and chemistry and mathematics? Any idea? Can any one of you say a few words about it? You can come up with certain comments, or if you feel any inconvenience, you can chat also. No idea.
No, there is a, excuse me.
Yeah, please.
Because we should know the basics of all the properties, material properties. So it will be easy to design a new material and a new material.
Okay, I appreciate you. Congratulations. Yeah, it is basic science. One, Mr. Edwin have commented like that, right? So whatever be the thing, see, it is a basic science. But that basic science you have studied in your +2 itself, in your 12th grade, or in your schooling itself. That physics, chemistry, everything. Then why you are studying that here also? In somewhat advanced topic of your +2, what you have studied in your 12th standard, you are studying in the first year as physics, chemistry, and mathematics even taken up to 4th semester, right? See, all those engineering depends completely, I should say completely on the physics and the chemistry of each and every material. You take the cement, right? So what we normally say is cement chemistry, like that only, So how it behaves? See, what is the strength you are getting in M15 grade or M20 grade is basically on the physics and the chemistry of your cement. Do you agree with me or not? Right? See, what are the chemical composition it has, cement, right? And see, whenever you are using a sustainable supplementary material, what you do is you are just comparing the behavior of chemical composition of cement with the material which you are going to use. Either it is a fly ash, or it is a silica, or it is a rice ash, right? So what is silica? What is CaO? What is SiO2? What is Al2O3? So how much composition it has, right? By number you are just seeing and you are just neglecting, but please don't do like that, right? You go in depth so that you could find out something, right? So whatever be the chemical composition it has, suppose if it aids for strength, right? If you are having SiO2, it enhances your initial setting of cement. Then if you want to make one element, then which chemical composition which will enhance that kind of property, so that you should add, right? As only 2% or 3% from as a chemical composition itself. Based on that, you can find out a material. You can do a new innovation itself. Right? Okay. This is how the chemical composition of each and everything we should know. So how due to this chemical particular due to particular composition, it behaves like this. Due to another particular composition, it behaves like that. Right? So one will aid for strength, one will aid for the setting time, one will enhances the workability, right? See, we have manufactured and we have invented so many super plasticizers. How come it came into existence? Because of chemistry alone, right? All those things are chemical compounds, right? Do you agree with me or not? Because either you want to delay the setting time or you want to make it early. Based on that, you are adding the admixtures. Either it is mineral admixture or it is a chemical admixture. Okay. So similarly, your physics also, right? See, I have mentioned about the rubberized concrete, no? So in the rubberized concrete, the rubber has a property of more impact resistance, right? So you should find out what are the properties, mechanical and physical properties it has, right? So based on that, you can apply that material. You can use that material for the particular research need. See, some manhole covers may be needed for septic tanks or for drainage. Manhole covers you may need for all the roads and all. Right. So for that one, what are the loads it may take up? So that you should study, and based on that, which material can yield such properties, that you should. Right. That's why we should know a lot about this physics and chemistry. Okay, of the materials. Any doubt for here? Anyone else? Because this is
No, ma'am.
very yes. Yeah. Yes. How much? Some of you have started something. You can freely talk to me. Okay. Again, coming over to the mathematics, without mathematics, nothing can exist, right? So, see, of course, each and every design cannot go as a research, and then you cannot bring the mixed design or the section size, right? Based on the trials in the experiments, you cannot take it to the side, right? But you want a convenient formula to find, so that you can make it as a code, and from that a designer can do, and you can implement it inside. So to derive all those things, the mathematical knowledge is highly essential, right? So that's why we are studying physics, chemistry, and the mathematics, right? So what I have given you here is nothing but the relationship of physics of the materials, components, and systems, right? Because we are studying about the materials, then we are talking about, we are implementing those materials to make as a component. If the component is successful, we are bringing it to the system, right? So the first one, this domain represents the physical phenomena resisted by the building materials, components, and systems. Okay. So How many time I have further? Now what's the time? I don't. Yeah. Up to what time I should take for? Kumar, Vignesh Kumar?
30, ma'am. 12:30, ma'am. So up to
Now at what time?
so
What's
it's
the time
12
now?
o'clock, ma'am. It's 12:05, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Am I boring you, participants? You
No,
can
ma'am.
answer it because okay. So if it is a one-way talk and it will be highly boring, and that too in a digital mode, right? Okay. This domain represents the physical phenomena resisted by the building materials, components, and systems. So the fundamental phenomena like gravity, electromagnetic radiation, air pressure, heat transfer, combustion, corrosion, all those things we should know, vibration characteristics, right? And similarly, as far as these are the fundamental phenomena, and you have to find for the as a physical properties of the materials, we should know for the density, permeability, compression, structural strength, all those things we are finding now as a mechanical property. So these are the different physical properties. I haven't included the mechanical properties here. So the thermal conductivity, permeability, modulus of elasticity, shear strength, combustion temperature, only little things I have added. So these are the physical properties for the materials we need to test. And then coming over to this component, we have to find out the load bearing capacity, deformation value, fire rating, air tightness, and water permeability, and also the condensation potential. Right? And once this is successful, then we transfer it to a system where we check with the functionality, compatibility, aesthetic, health and safety, and economy. Right? So based on this only the research lies. So coming over to the characteristics of materials. So they have used 4 different mixes: normal aggregate concrete with basalt fiber, sinter fly ash aggregate concrete, then sinter fly ash aggregate concrete with basalt fiber. It did all the fresh and hardened concrete properties along with the durability also. So these are the different materials used in this investigation and the various physical properties of the binder, right? And these are the different values of the force aggregate and the my manufactured aggregate. See here, we are finding the values of the force conventional aggregate, right? And also the sinter fly ash aggregate, right? See, this bulk density is nothing but here at the 1625 kg per meter cube, whereas for the sinter fly ash aggregate, as it is very light in weight, we have got only the 890 kg per meter cube. So this weight reduction leads to weight in the saving of weight to the foundation. So the cost could be saved. Right? So these are the properties about the basalt fiber and the properties of water and superplasticizer. What we have used is master geranium SPY 8233. And as usual, before starting the testing, we have to do the testing for the cold formed steel tubes and the sheet also, because we have used the lace and the batt-ended system using cold formed steel. As per 801 1975, which is reaffirmed in 2010, we have checked the Hellion standards for the given taken steel. And these are the different mixed proportions for the M30 grade, because nowadays M15 is obsolete. M20 has come to existence by the PWD people alone. But for mega projects, people have started shifting to M25 and above grades to make us slender sections. Okay. So suppose if any of you have started your research now, then don't go for M20 or M25. Please go on from M30 onwards, because now the code is getting revised quite often. So by the time your research ends, it will shift to the next grade of form. Okay. So the system has been tested for the non-destructive testing also by using the rebound hammer test, and we have got this average compression values like this: 36 megapascal, 40, 38 for sintered aggregate, and the sintered aggregate fiber 40. Right. So you could just check with this one. This is 36 with the conventional aggregate, and this is 38.68, right? So the rebound hammer is also gives the same, and the quality of concrete as per UPV is a very good layer, and this one is very good art layer, good layer, something like that, right? So we are able to produce values like this, and these are the modulus of elasticity values, and the steel tube is tested for yield. So from this, what found here is nothing but based on the mechanical properties, the sintered fly ash aggregate can be effectively utilized for making concrete because it gives good workability. The compressive strength, split tensile strength, and flexural strength and Young's modulus are satisfied. So this is taken to this concrete encased composite column. Right. So the concrete encasement is there inside the conventional steel here, right? And in some of the systems we have this one is conventional steel, and the inside the steel tube is inserted here for this system. Whereas for the next one, I laced the built-up reinforced column, and this is placed built-up reinforced column of series 4. Right. So this picture tells you about the conventional reinforcements that series 1. And these are the angle sections and tubes. So here the machine cutting and bending of steel plates is there, and the fabrication of the reinforcement, and from which the reinforcement grills have been made. Right. So the first one is the laced system, and the second one is the battented system. So these two things have the main steel as the longitudinal angle sections as the main steel. So these kinds of systems have been inserted into this concrete and in the formwork, and then concrete was laid, and finally it is tested for the axial compression. So these are the different tested specimens here. So for all the specimens, we have used 0 to 0.25% of as basalt fiber content. And all the columns have been tested for static and compressive loading. So this is how the test setup was there. So this is fully rigid here platform, right? So completely fixed in condition have been adopted. A load cell and also LVDT was used for measuring the deflections, and a hydraulic jab in addition which is provided. The strain gauge is perfectly here. So these are the different dive gauges and the strain gauge. So based on that, I have got the cyclic load. Under cyclic load means because the columns will be subjected to cyclic loading also during it. So we have taken interest to study it for both static load and also for the cyclic load. So from 0 we go up to 0.5, 1, and then return back. And again 0.5, again 0. And similarly 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, then come back. Similarly, all the things have been taken and it is written. Right? So we have got a unique cyclic load, something like this. It indicates a good form of ductility. So these are the different kinds of failed specimens. So these are the stiffness degradation. Right? So for each and every aggregate we are having, column. So this picture shows you the column strength ratio. Right? Though it is made using sintered fly ash aggregate, we could be able to get the values of maximum strength. So these are the residual deflections. So the key findings from this investigation, this experiment are nothing but this addition of basalt fiber to sintered fly ash lightweight aggregate concrete delays the failure by improving the mode of failure. The steel tube had better load carrying capacity, and the columns typically failed by crushing. The squash load calculated was the same, but the force contributions of each column will be different. And as we are providing it with the lacings and battens, the confinement effectiveness is much more in laced and battened columns. And so those columns exhibited good amount of ductility and energy absorption also. So we have made a theoretical analysis as per 5 different country codal positions, those values have been compared and it is presented. And to the maximum, see, these are the experimental values. They have good coincidence with the Euro code system. But the other codes are little bit less conservative. So many difference in values we could get. And this EC4 and the AES, the LRFP standards projected a very good similarity, the comparability. ACI code a little bit lesser, right? But when you compare that with the other code information, okay, say it is BS 5950 part 5, BS 5400 part 5 and ECP it is much. So it depicts well with the EC4 and ECI LRFP standards. So the deflection values and the ratios have been compared here. These are the theoretical proposed equations. Yeah. So when we go to the finite element analysis, so these column, composite column, is modeled using ANSYS also. So for concrete, we have used the solid 65 element. For reinforcement, beam 188 3D element, and for the SEC infill also it is solid 65. Right. Steel angle sections again it is bending elements. So beam 188 have been used. So these are the models we have made, and then this is the meshed pattern, and the load after the load applied, then this is the deflection behavior in the linear state, and this is the ANSYS and experimental comparisons. We could get very good comparison between the experimental and the ANSYS results. And these are the effects comparison between the cyclic loadings. And this is the strain behavior on the composite columns. Similar kind of failure we observed in experimentals. So from this, what we could identify is that the finite element results are in well agreement with the experimental results. So we could adopt the model. This is how the validation is done and utilized for other sections. So from which what we could conclude is the simple fly ash aggregate can be very effectively utilized in any kind of structural system. So for composite system, encased concrete columns, we have adopted and we found the value, and we could get the same kind of mechanical properties as in the conventional system. So these are the recommendations. So using the steel tubes and the brittle sections, we could get more values so that the lacing and batten-trade systems showed more stiffened results. Right? So the high strength lightweight concrete can be preferred for using the fitting high-rise buildings. Thank you. So any queries you can ask.
So thank you so much, ma'am, for your spending your valuable time and providing your wonderful information, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks
so
a lot.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So participants, if you have any queries, please ask now. Sir, queries, please post your chat box also.
So many appreciable words I am saying here. Thank you. Thank you, Balaji Mohan and Prithviraj Mohammed Khan. So many persons. Thank you. Thanks a lot for having a clean observation on this one. If you are having any doubts, you can call. You can make a note. Thank you. Thank you all for your comments. There is no queries. See, actually, the civil engineering is, what is the difference between, the modular construction and precast construction are almost one and the same. The PPT I will share to you definitely. There are a lot of avenues I have mentioned here for your for guiding for DE project or for MTech project and for your research work also. So, and why I have taken the existing systems as the diagram or the other thing outriggers now, so from which you could develop more. You can utilize that system. See that aluminum foam also I have mentioned, So you take up a CFT tube and in which you pour the aluminum foam and you check with the resistance. For a simple BE final year student itself, you can give smaller tube, say 150 mm diameter, 100 mm diameter and 300 mm height. simple that you could test it in your UTM itself, just simply for compression. So like that you can do small tests. Even you need not worry that I'm not at all having this kind of setup, that kind of setup. But with the setup you are having, you could do wonders. Right? So you can do so many things. And my also additional request is don't waste your time by because everyone is at home alone. I hope, right? So there are a lot of things maybe there, things to do by few people, those who are working in the self-financing colleges or some maybe in other institutes. But you could utilize this time effectively and update yourself because civil engineering is Vatra Jeevanadi. So many wonderful systems are available. I have just mentioned a very few things and in a very short manner, right? So I have given you a short, a kind of topic alone I introduced, but it is in your hands to develop in that particular area in a rich manner, right? So I wish you all the best for you all, and thanks for the patient hearing. And I thank you sincerely to all of you for appreciating me with a kind of positive words. Thank you. Thanks again for the coordinators also.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
ma'am.
Venkatesh and
Thank you,
Dr.
ma'am.
Priya.
Okay. So, ma'am, as I'm going to meeting, ma'am, HOD's meeting. So, ma'am, there is no meeting in.
Okay, okay, then can I
Okay.
take leave from here?
Okay, sure, ma'am. So, participate any other queries? So, there is no queries, ma'am. So,
Okay,
we have end of the session, ma'am.
okay, sure.
Thank you for accepting invitation and presenting
Thank
the
you. Thanks
nice
for the
lecture, ma'am.
opportunity. Thanks for the opportunity given to me. Thank
So,
you.
sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So, participants, kindly fill the attendance link for day 1 section. So, it's posted in chat box. So tomorrow day 2 section is followed by same timing 10:30 a.m. and same Google Meet link. So kindly join the same link for tomorrow section also. So once again, thank you for active participation and entire the section. Thank you all.